It's always good to stretch the legs after a long passage, and we had a really spectacular sunset that evening looking out over Belfast Loch. There were quite a few ships at anchor, but the conditions were pretty good out there and it was calm inside the marina. There was a fairground just outside of the marina and the big wheel looked really spectacular at night. It's Tuesday the 25th of July. We're just leaving Bangor Marina now and making our way up to Glenarm, a little bit further north up the coast. We've had 4 days here, mixed weather, torrential rain at times, sometimes it was quite fine, but yep, we're making a bit more progress now towards Scotland. We had our AIS safe zone set at a mile, so every time a yacht or another vessel entered that, it gave us an alarm. We seem to be getting quite familiar now with the Larne to Stranraer ferry. The European causeway came out of Larne and was passing in front of us, and of course set the AIS alarm off. The weather had remained fair throughout the entire passage up to Glenarm until we were entering Glenarm Bay, and it thrashed down with rain. Once again we arrived absolutely dripping wet. The rain cleared up for the evening and we enjoyed a good walk around the marina. It was a very calm morning when we left Glenarm Marina, and we followed a working vessel out which serviced the fish farms just outside in the bay. It's Thursday the 27th of July. We're just leaving Glenarm at 9 o'clock in the morning. Our destination today is across the North Channel and into Campbeltown. On our previous visit to Glenarm, we could hardly see the Antrim coast for low grey clouds, so it was really good to see the green countryside as we left under quite bright skies. It's a motor sailing day today. There's only about between 5 and 7 knots of wind, something like that. We've got the Kintyre coast appearing ahead. It has been under cloud. You can see Sander Island on the right there. Last time we approached during our trip last year, we couldn't actually see it until we got there. We've been tracking a coastal vessel on AIS for the last hour, and it's approaching us now. It's just coming into our safe zone. Let's see if I can spot him for you. The vessel's called Arklow Racer, and at the moment its closest approach to us could be 256 feet, so we're keeping a close watch on it. As Magic Hawk was motor sailing today, we of course were two motor vessels approaching each other at right angles, and he had right of way, he was the stand-on vessel. So I did actually have to make a course correction, because that prediction of 200 and odd feet was pretty accurate. So I made a deliberate course change across his stern and then resumed my original course. Okay, swap the courtesy flags. Northern Ireland coming down, Scotland going up. Well, it's lunchtime on Magic Hawk. It's around about 1 o'clock. We've just passed Sander Island on the way into Clyde. We're just off the Kintyre Peninsula here. A lot of radio stuff going on at the moment. Yes, just about to have a lunch. We're not that far now from Campbeltown, probably being in around about an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4, and I've got my new hat on, so there we go. Later that day there was a shout for the Campbeltown lifeboat. Once the crew were on board, they wasted no time at all in speeding out of the harbour and straight down Campbeltown Loch, but unfortunately by the time they got to Island de Var the shout was actually called off, so they returned to base. The first time we visited Campbeltown we weren't over impressed, to be honest, but the place actually has grown on us after 3 visits. On this occasion we found the Lady Linda McCartney Memorial Garden, which was a beautiful place to visit. And we couldn't leave Campbeltown without a visit to McKellar's Sweet Shop and also to get a bottle of Glen Scotia Campbeltown whisky. Monday the 31st of July and we have just left Campbeltown at around 10:30 in the morning. The intention is to go up the Kilbrannan Sound towards Loch Ranza, see how it is at Ranza. If it's good, we'll pick up a mooring. If not, we'll perhaps carry on to Portavadie. That's the plan. As we were leaving Campbeltown Loch, we spotted the tall ship TS Royalist at anchor, which we haven't seen since we were in Tarbert during our trip last year. We're sailing up the Kilbrannan Sound at the moment. Just got the Genoa out, so the wind is right off the port quarter today, and it's blowing, blowing up to, gusting up to about 20-23 knots. So we've got a speed over the ground of about 5 knots at the moment, but the tide is going to be against us. What tide there is, all the way up, I think, until about 4 o'clock this afternoon it turns again, but it's only weak, so it doesn't really matter. So there we go, enjoying a nice sail. Pity the weather isn't so accommodating. Thinking back at the journey so far since we left Conwy on the 13th of July, there has hardly been a passage where it hasn't been cold and wet, and sometimes just miserable. It's amazing really, because in May and June there was really nice weather in the UK, and it's completely disappeared. Towards the end of today's passage, the wind lightened and we had to motor the last few miles around into Loch Ranza, where we picked up one of the 12 visitors' mooring buoys down the centre of the loch and enjoyed the view over the castle, which we were fairly close to on this occasion. Shortly afterwards, the rain set in for the night, so we closed the hatch and locked ourselves away. Well, we've woken up to a completely different Loch Ranza this morning. Lovely sunny weather to start the day. We've just dropped the mooring. It's 5 to 10 on Tuesday the 1st of August. And we're going to head around to either Rothesay or Bangor. After we came out of the loch and into the Kilbrannan Sound again, we were hopeful of a sail, as there was a sun breeze, but unfortunately it just faded away. This small cottage on the north coast of Arran has to be one of the most remote little houses we have ever seen. This little lighthouse has got a Gaelic name. Lots of things up here have Gaelic names. I'm not sure how to say this one. It's Rúb an Ún. Rúb an Ún, something like that. My apologies to any Gaelic speakers watching this video. As we sailed up the east coast of Bute, we passed the ancestral home of the Marquess of Bute at Mount Stuart. If you saw our videos from last year, you will remember we visited Mount Stuart and I made a special video of it because it was such an incredible place. I'll put a link in the description below. We radioed ahead to Rothesay Harbour on Channel 12 and got permission to enter the outer harbour. However, we wanted to berth in the inner harbour, but as we approached, the bridge was already lifted for us, making our task quite easy. The berths in the inner harbour are actually controlled by a separate company called the Bute Berthing Company. So you also need to make contact with them and take directions from their berthing master as you enter. The inner harbour was very well sheltered, as we found out a little later when yet more strong winds blew through the Firth of Clyde.